I'm going to start with something that I read somewhere about a smallest nation in the Pacific Ocean called Kiribati, or it's pronounced Kiribati. So there used to be a practice or a culture in that community. It's more of an indigenous community. So they have a practice that whenever there is a criminal found or somebody who's done something wrong, the community used to wrap a rag, which is tattered, kind of ugly rag around the person, and then take them around the streets of the town or city, whatever it is. So that shame will be carried by the criminal to carry it around throughout their life, so that they hope that that will change them from their bad behavior towards something that's good. So, but the king one day thought about it and then said, like, I'm going to change this not this way, not through shame, but I'm going to do it through a different way. So he did something very nobody expected that. So the king took the rag one day and then wore around him the same way how the criminal would have been treated. He wore that and then went around the street, and the same thing, that ritual that was done to the criminal, he did it for that. The king did it for himself. So this is not about the rag or about the king. This is about the Christ. So the Christ took the cross and took the shame and curse that was upon all of us on himself. Not by force, but voluntarily he took that. And we all know that that's the whole purpose, or the redemption and salvation came through the cross. And because in Deuteronomy, I think in 21:22, we hear about it that whoever raised in the pole, whoever is the capital punishment that should be given is raised to the pole. And he took that shame and curse upon himself for our salvation. We all know about it. But something that came to my mind was like, why only Christ? Is he the first one to die on the cross? Not really, right? Because we know that's a practice in the culture that whoever is, it's been in the tradition of Jews that it should be raised on the pole. But why only Christ? Why are we glorifying only Christ? Why not even on the same day that Christ was crucified? There were two more criminals who were crucified. But why only Christ was the question that came to me. And that came to my mind, I'll keep sharing with you. I believe that's the purpose of Christ, that he came to this world, that we see in John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son. Christ knew the purpose why he came into this mankind as a human form. Because of he stood to the purpose, I believe that he was able to persevere right from the day that he was coming through. For example, even when he was a kid, when he was going to the festival period, he was not like any other kid. He was with the Pharisees and he was discussing about them, about the theological kind of a sermon. He was doing that because he knew the purpose right from the beginning. And even after later, when he was tempted also, he persevered the temptation, like we all came through go through the temptation. He also went through the temptation. So that he stood by his purpose is what I believe that made him persevere throughout, and then go and take the cross and then bear the cross, because all the other sinners, or the two sinners, the two thieves that are around him also went through this almost. Maybe we haven't, it's not documented, but by me I feel that they also would have gone through that. But why we glorify Jesus is the purpose made him stand out around the other persons. And because of he stood by his purpose, that he was sent through this world, he was able to change. Not the other two person was not able to change that cross into something blessing or a salvation. All the people before him who went through the crucifixion, they carried the shame and then the curse. But he turned around that because of the purpose that he was brought in, is what I believe. And and I would like to, and thanks Sunanda for mentioning about the identity. Like, this sacrifice that he took on the cross changed not only our identity, I believe it changed his identity also. Because in the cross, we might have seen in the cross, picture depiction of the cross like INRI or INRI that's written. In Latin, it stands for, it means Jesus of Nazareth, King of Jews. And we know the chaos that happened after that, like it should be changed. He called himself the King of Jews and everything. So I believe that Jesus would have been thinking like, this is not the identity that I'm carrying. This is the identity that people call, or people you want me to call, or I call myself. That's not the identity of mine. My identity is the purpose that I came into it. That's why even when they tried to change it also, they couldn't change, or that's how the world sees. And when we look into our identity, and I'll come back to that a little while later. So he changed his identity also. And then I would like to go through Romans 6, 6 through 11. What does it mean to me as an identity? What is my identity? We all have, at some point in time, we get that question. What's my identity? Particularly when we go through some struggle times. What's my identity? Because I'm not victorious. Of course, I'm saved, but I'm not victorious in all the, and thanks to Avjit bringing that, the curse of the sins and all. That comes to our mind. Because, for example, I am not rich. Is it because of that, the curse that I'm carrying? We question our identity. But he himself stood to the purpose. Because of that, he was able to carry his identity and then turn around his own identity when he stood by his purpose. And when if we can go through Romans 6, 6 through 11, if we can read through it. For we know that our old self was crucified with him, so that the body ruled by sin might be done away with, that we should no longer be slaves to sin. Because anyone who has died has been set free from sin. Now, if we died with Christ, we believe that we also live with him. For we know that since Christ was raised from the dead, he cannot die again. Death no longer has mastery over him. The death he died to sin once for all. But the life he lives to God. In the same way, count yourselves dead to sin, but alive to God in Christ Jesus. This is what I would take away from this. Christ was crucified on the cross, questioned about his identity. He turned around the identity. What does it mean to me? I'm also dead to sin. I'm alive in Christ as per Romans 6:11. And because of that, my identity is also changed now. Not only forgiven for my sins that I did not do, that I carry from, or I might have done also. Not only forgiven, but I'm brought new. Dead to sin, but alive in Christ. So, what do I do to change my identity? Jesus did something and he changed his identity. What do I do to change my identity? Because that's what my question is. I'm changed is what God changed himself because he crucified. But if we go back to the purpose, for God so loved the world, not King of Jews is not his identity. Now he gave himself for the world. That means that includes me, everybody in the world. No, he is no longer only the King of Jews. He is now the King of every one of us. And that's how he saved us. So again, I'll come back to the same question. What do I need to do? That's where we believe in the finished work of Christ, that we don't need to do anything more because he has finished that already. Should I also should carry the cross and then go through that? Some of us might heard the sermon that we also should carry the cross and then go through it. That talks about commitment. That's a different story. But I don't need to carry the cross. I don't need to do anything to change my identity. If I stand on my purpose, what God has given to me, and all I need to do is receive the gift of grace. Because grace is not something that I can earn. It is something given to me as a gift. If I'm able to receive the gift by believing, so all I need to do is, yes, I believe that Christ died for me, and I'm going to stand strong with my purpose or stood my ground to my purpose. If I do that, I'll be able to change my identity also. And I don't need to do anything about it. I need to believe that, yes, God died for me and he has already finished that. Now I don't need to do anything. All I need to do is believe that Christ has finished the work for me, and believe is what we have to do going forward. And I believe all of us will find our purpose by the Spirit of God that's given to us. That's what he has left us. He died, he rose again, he went back. But he has left us the third Trinity over here. Like Father gave the Son, Son gave us the Spirit. So if we carry the Spirit, and I believe God, the Trinity of God, particularly the Spirit, will guide us to find our own purpose, so that each of us are brought into this world with our purpose, so that we'll be able to bring on the identity that we are brought into this world. Thanks for listening to me.